This is Dr. David Allen coming to you on the television program, People Helping People. As you know, our program, the Family, People Helping People program, is a clinical but also research-based program which is funded by the Templeton World Charity Foundation. About 4 years ago, our research started to show us that the predominant issue in our country is anger. In fact, in the research, anger was first, secondly was followed by violence, thirdly by grief, then fourthly by relationship difficulties, and then of course abuse. If you list all those things, anger, violence, grief, relationship issues, and abuse, that is really a definition of the external faces of shame in the society. So we came to realize that our society was facing a very serious issue of shame, traumatization, and anger. As a result of this, we started to look at what could we do. Which you know, we have a prison family. We go there every week, and we soon will be starting not just a prison male family, but a prison female family. And we've been able to, because we've interviewed a number of people who have hurt other people, been able to look at the different stages involved with when a person kills or hurts another person. That work is called the Evil Valence Tunnel. It's now been published worldwide, just translated into Chinese and also into Spanish. So we have a lot of data in our country about our violent crime situation. But one of the pains in my heart was, as I looked at this data and saw the anger in the country, and I realized when we did our juvenile family clinics, they had the same profile as the adults. They were also angry, they were also violent, they were also sad, and they also had relationship problems with their peers, and of course, many of them have been abused. The question was what to do with it. I've been working for a few years with Mark Beckford. Mark knows this field very well. He's a graduate of Taylor University. In fact, I met him while giving a lecture at Taylor University. And of course, Ms. Deanie Fountain, who is also has a bachelor's doing her master's, I think, and hopefully will do her doctorates. And she is a minister by profession, but a very empathic, caring person. So the three of us came up with an idea. If we can get young men, particularly, or women, in the area of 11 to say 15, 16, when they have their first problem, for example, in the public schools, throwing stones, throwing rocks, fights on the blocks, and get them into a very intensive program, we may be able to prevent them becoming the killers of the future. Because our research showed us, like the government research, that the average age of the murderer in the Bahamas is between 16 and 24. Actually, recently you had the young man, 19 years old, arrested for the slaying of the 8-month child. And so our approach to this was, if we can get these teenagers or preteens, after they commit some form of violence, go to the courts, and through the probation department, we're able to work out with them that if these young persons who had initial violent crimes could be referred to us and stay in our program for about 10 months, they can get their charge released and be released to freedom to continue their studies. Well, our program has been going now for almost 2 years. We've had a number of young men and women, and our results are very interesting, but they are challenging because some of the young men we're seeing are very, very tough. They're gang-related, although they don't tell us that. And to show my naivete, when I started the program, I just had them come in, and then Mark said, "Doc, you have to check these guys." I said, "Check for what?" Well, Mark said, "You'll see." And Mark had the guys checked every time they came in, and he produced knives, screwdrivers. It was amazing that the young guys travel around armed. And of course, when you look at it, you say they're bad guys. Well, in some sense, some of them are. But the being armed was also they have to be protected, because they tell us you can't walk alone in the streets because the turf wars. And if you're not in the wrong gang, you could get in trouble. So they have to hang with their boys. And when they're with their boys, they have to arm themselves. But the truth is now we have a cadre of these young men in our work program called the Court-Ordered Family of Young People. And we are thankful the courts are working with us, and particularly the probation department. But because of this, we feel we have our finger on what's happening in our Bahamas as far as the violent crime is concerned. Violent crime does not just start when it happens. Violent crime is not an act. Violent crime is not an event. Violent crime is a process that starts in early preteen, around 11, 12, kids hitting at school, throwing rocks, fighting on the blocks, fighting in school, not behaving in school, and then it goes, and eventually the process leads to an event. What we're trying to do, though on a small scale, because we're a small group, we're trying to intervene in the violence when it first occurs, so we can prevent that young man or woman becoming violent later in their teens, that is 16, 17, 18, 19. Now, Mark, obviously, you've taught me a lot of this. You're the professor. I've learned from you because, as you tell me, I was brought up soft, right? Why are you laughing, Denise? It's true, eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, meet a soft man, okay? And I know I'm soft, and I can't fight. But Mark, you told me, you outlined all this to me before we started. You said, Doc, you got a problem. The country's got a problem, and we're not really addressing the problem. They're not fitting into school. They're not fitting in society, and therefore, they're just going to violent crime. How do you feel, Mark, having told me all this almost 5 years ago, and we've watched the whole process get worse and worse and worse and worse? Do you get discouraged?
No, don't get discouraged.
But why can't the society see what we're trying to do, and why can't they catch it, what you've been trying to say? Because we've been really coming out, we're published. In fact, worldwide, people are interested in our work sometime and locally. Why don't we want to listen to what's happening?
I mean, not necessarily saying society, because you have to understand, although these kids portray these actions, you have to realize that the true adversary here is society and parenting for these kids.
Is what?
Society and parenting for these kids.
Okay.
Because
so
these
you're
kids
not letting parents off the hook?
No way. You cannot let society nor the parents off the hook, because the kids are only the mirror. Society and the parents are the root. If you keep, you will be dealing with the fruits and the leaves all day. But if these kids don't get the proper guidance and structure from when they're young, they will eventually follow that path.
Wow. So Mark, last week when we had the young man arrested at 19 for killing the 8-month-old child, we can't discuss that, of course. I guess, are you surprised?
I wouldn't say surprised, because one thing individuals have to understand is, although you see behaviors and you see things happening, sometimes you have to look beyond the behavior, you know. And once you get deeper involved in a relationship, whereas you understand the root of many things, sometimes your judgment tends to change. Mm-hmm. And how you look and how you judge a person. Mm-hmm. Because many times we pass judgment and say this and say that because we're far off.
So Dini, the young man in your group, your Mark's group, you could see how the roots they've had can lead to them into the violence of killing. Yeah. And what does it do to you when you see that in a kid, say 11 and 12?
So it's kind of sad, because one of the things we notice in the group setting is the absence again of fathers. Where you have mothers are trying to do the very, very best, there's still that lacking. And a lot of times in this society or any society, if you see a guy that's really, or a young man that's really not behaving, you go back and you check, like Mark do, and you check the homes and you realize daddy is absent. And so they tend to get into more mischief because there's no male figure.
Wait now, you're letting mothers off the hook and putting it all on fathers.
For the most part.
So mothers are off the hook.
No,
they're the good people and their fathers are the bad guys.
No, mothers are good. But you have to understand, mothers carry these babies. So we've got this connection. I'm not saying daddies don't. Daddies do as well. But daddy is that stern figure in the home, where I would say to, if one of them was mine, I'd say, listen, try, don't do that again. Let's do it like this, let's do it like that. Whereas daddy would probably come behind and use that forceful something and say, well, listen, Johnny, I don't want you to do. My life spiraled out of control when I was there, and I'm here to help you. Some mothers don't have that.
Okay.
So we could see it.
Mark, I've noticed, when I walk into the group, I can do my little thing. But when you walk in, it's like they stand at attention. What do you do what do you have that I don't have? No, you shut up, Didi. What does Mark have that I don't have?
I mean, just talk. I mean, when you have come from the life that I've came from, and experience and witness some things that I've experienced, and also I've lacked some things in my life growing up, in terms of me becoming a father. See, being a man is different from being a father.
Being a man is different from being a father.
Being a father. Many of us know how to be males because we know our body parts and our genitals. But to be a father requires some learned responsibilities of discipline, love, affection, gentleness. Many males don't know that. And just how anger is a learned behavior, being a father is also a learned behavior. Actually, it's a learned discipline. And many males don't have that. I just know how to come home. Many men just know, okay, I'm a male, let me go work, pay the bills, and that's that, and I go hang with my boys. But there's a responsibility that comes to being a father.
Jenny, how do we solve that?
I guess we have to get fathers to the point where they understand that they're more than just men. They're fathers. And it comes with the responsibility, not just being a sperm donor, because anybody can do that. But a father is somebody who's going to go the extra mile. He's going to care. He's going to be there. He's going to know how to use the rod of correction, and it's not necessarily beating or spanking the child. The rod of correction could easily be, okay, I'm going to take your cell phone for a week. I spoke with a child the other day who said she was rude, and by 10 o'clock for a whole week or a whole month, her mom takes her cell phone, her parents at least takes the cell phone from her 10 o'clock every evening. And she said, I'd rather you guys beat me than take my phone.
I'd rather you guys beat me
than to take my phone. So
the phone is a very important...
It's a very important aspect in the teen. So that's another way we could discipline the children. We don't have to... The rod of correction does not necessarily say, let's beat them.
No.
Let's take away some privileges.
Well, that's really interesting. We're going to take a break and be right back.